Hello, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new. I don't know about you, but I feel like the reading just hits different in the fall. There are so many good vibes and genres to digest in the fall time. I just feel like it's a totally different experience. So today I'm going to give you some fall book recommendations. I have everything from spooky, cozy mystery, fantasy, some dark academia, of course. So grab yourself a cup of coffee, a snack, and let's go ahead and dive right in. The first recommendations that I have for you are some cozy mysteries. There is just something about curling up with a blanket, some hot cocoa, have the fire on, and diving into a good mystery. But I also love when there's a fun element to it. It's a little bit more cozy. It's not so serious. It's not like an Agatha Christie. It's like the vibes of it just being chill, and you're just immersing yourself in the story, not getting too spooked out, and just having a grand old time. There's just something so enjoyable about that, and I just love a good cozy mystery. So my first recommendation in this category is Finley Donovan is Killing It. I love this book and this series so much. It is so fun, it's cozy, it's got murder vibes, and I especially like it for this time of year. Like I said, just cozying up with a good mystery and just letting it unpack. It's just incredible. So in this book, we are following Finley Donovan, who is actually a crime author, and she has to come up with the plot of her next book, and she is pitching it to her editor at a Panera, as you do, and someone overhears them and thinks that Finley is describing a real situation and thinks that she is a hitwoman. So then she proceeds to hire her to kill her husband. And the story unfolds from there. And there's just great supporting characters in this book too, which is also something I love to see. It's not just about Finley, it's about all of the characters around her, some good, some bad, and it's just a grand old time. So if you're looking to cozy up with a mystery, this is an incredible place to start. The next book leans heavy on the Sherlock Holmes vibes, and that's because she is a descendant of Sherlock Holmes himself, and that is A Study in Charlotte. I love this book. I really want to dive more into this series. I've only read this first one and loved it. In this book, we are following Charlotte, who is the great-great-granddaughter of Sherlock Holmes. And she goes to a university, which we have some campus vibes here. We love to see it. And a murder happens, and she, being the descendant of Sherlock Holmes, has all of his wit, all of his charm, all of his, well, anger, and all of his abilities. And she takes it upon herself to try and solve this crime, while also pairing up with Jamie, who is the great-great-grandson of Watson. So you have the Sherlock and Watson vibes just in a new generation, and it's so fun. And let me tell you, do not sleep on YA thrillers, mysteries, because they have some of the best plot twists ever. This book actually surprised me, and that does not happen very often, although it seems to happen quite often in YA, which is why I'm diving more into YA thrillers and mysteries, etc., because they always seem to surprise me more so than adult. So here's your PSA to go seek out some YA. But anywho, this is so fun. Like I said, the twist, it's surprising, it's fun, you have the total Sherlock and Watson vibes, and if you've read or watched any sort of Sherlock Watson, you know they have a certain dynamic, and these two are no different, minus maybe a little romance that happens. Just saying. So I'm actually going to be diving more into this series myself, but I think this one is an incredible place to start and an incredible book for this fall. Now, it wouldn't be fall time without spooky season, and while I am still getting into horror myself, I do enjoy a spooky book, a book with a spooky element to it, and I just have to recommend one of my favorites. This was my first ever spooky book, and it did not disappoint. Honestly, it probably shouldn't have started here because the bar has been set quite high, and I feel like a lot of people have probably read this already, but if you haven't, if you have been sleeping on this book, here is my cry to pick it up and read it, and that is Home Before Dark by Riley Sager. This book is so fun, and the twists are so good, and something I love about this book and Riley Sager in general is that there's always twists upon twists. So you think you have it figured out, and then he twists it again at the end, and you're just like, where did that come from? But I'm here for it. In this book, we are following Maggie, and Maggie inherits this place called Baneberry Hall. Baneberry Hall is actually where she grew up with her parents 25 years ago, and they have moved into this place and then moved out, and her father wrote a book upon what his experiences were inside of the house and what led them to leave. And this book has made her family famous, not in a great way, in her opinion, and she inherits this house and decides to go back and see what's happening. Was there any truth to it? Was it all just shenanigans? And it is so good. It's so good. It gives all the creepy, spooky, haunted house vibes that you want, with also making you doubt yourself, and also you get chapters of the father's book in between, which I love because that just added this extra layer of spook to it. It is so fun. It's creepy, it's spooky, and the twist, chef's kiss, was blown away at the end, and I just had a grand old time, and I think that you will too. And my next recommendation is more of an author than it is a specific book, and it's not what you think. No, it's not Stephen King. It's actually Darcy Coates. She is known for her spooky, haunted house kind of vibes. I read Haunting of Ashburn House earlier this year and really enjoyed that one, but she has a few others that I have had my eye on actually and plan to read this spooky season. So I think if you pick up anything from Darcy Coates, you will have a good time. Some people did not like the twist at the end of Haunting of Ashburn House, but I actually thought it was fun. It's expected with being unexpected, even though our main character does some questionable things while she is in the house, and it's like watching a horror movie. You're like screaming the whole time, like, what are you doing? Don't go in there. Don't go up the steps. Look behind you. Like that kind of thing. That's the vibes of the book. But it's fun and it's enjoyable, and I had a good time, and I actually really liked the ending. And I've heard some of the other ones are also quite as spooky and twisty and just fun if you're looking for haunted house and like actual haunted house vibes. So highly recommend checking out Darcy Coates for some spooky reads this season. Now there is just something about this time of year that makes me want to immerse myself into other worlds. I think it's because fall feels so like otherworld-like itself. It's like any other season, and it just feels like you're living in this like autumn bubble, and I just love it. And fantasy is one of those things too, where you get to just immerse yourself in another world for a little while, get some magic, get some creature. And while some fantasies give more fall vibes, I picked these just because they give me fall vibes. One, because I read this first one in the fall time, so it just reminds me of this time of year and how I felt while I was reading it, and it is one of my favorite books of all time, and it is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. I cannot recommend this book enough. It is truly one of my favorite books. This story is just, it's gripping, it's heart-wrenching, it's inspiring, it makes you think, and it just gives me all of the vibes. So in this book, we are following Addie, and Addie has always wanted to explore the world and see different parts of the world and just get out of her hometown, not be bogged down by like what society and her upbringing says she should do, like get married and, you know, be the housewife, have the babies, that kind of thing. The beginning of this book takes place in the 1700s, so you can imagine what the vibes were back then. And she just like doesn't want any part of it, so she essentially makes a deal with the devil. And he's like, hey, I will take you out of this world. You will be able to go anywhere you want, travel, see wherever you want, experience all of these things. But there are some conditions. 1, you will live forever, and 2, no one is going to remember who you are. And the story takes off from there. And as you can imagine, not having anyone remember you, it just can make everything feel a little bit lonely. So this book is a roller coaster. I feel like people go into it not expecting it to be as sad as it is, and as heartbreaking as it is, and as thought-provoking as it is. And it is all of those things, and a wild ride, and a good time, and really heartfelt, and really like, It's the only way I could describe it. It's so good. And like I said, this book, I mean, there are definitely some fall vibes in there. You know, you get the different parts of the world. You get cozy bookstore vibes. Like, there are definitely some things. There's New York in there. There are some things that make it feel kind of fallish. But for me, I just read this during the fall, so it gives me all of those vibes. And I just feel like this time of year, curl up with a blanket, a box of tissues maybe, a fire, and like enjoy yourself. Get some wine and just immerse yourself in this book, and you will not regret it. And then my second recommendation is more of a reread, because I feel like it would be a reread for most people. But I can't not recommend it, because really fall is the perfect time of year to dive back into this world and these characters, and that's the Harry Potter series. I mean, does anything else scream more fall/winter than Harry Potter? I do not think so. So I really don't have to give you a synopsis on this, at least I really hope I don't at this point. But what I will say is that it is the perfect time of year to reread this and to dive back in. I feel like the nostalgia that comes along with this, the back to school vibes, and just the magic in general just scream this time of year. So it is the perfect time, and I just highly recommend it, okay? I just highly, highly recommend it. And I cannot let a fall recommendations video go without mentioning my favorite genre this time of year, and that is dark academia. There's just something about going onto a college campus that already screams fall because, like, you know, you're moving in, it just gives the vibes, but then you give it a murder and some questionable characters, and honestly, the darker the better, and I'm here for it. So I'm going to give you 2 recommendations, but honestly, there are so many, and I have a whole list of ones that I am dying to get to this year, but these 2 I read and was blown away. Both were 5 stars for me. I just love them so much. So the first one is In My Dreams, I Hold a Knife. This is like top tier what I'm looking for when it comes to dark academia. This gives you friend group vibes. Let me just tell you what this book is about. This book is following Jessica Miller, and Jessica Miller is going back to college for a reunion where she is going to be reunited with her core group of friends, and they are all holding on to a tragedy that happened when they were in school. One of their friends was killed, and they are all holding on to their own secrets, which we love to see in a friend group. Absolutely, the more secrets the better, and they are all trying to unpack what is happening, and Jessica herself is a little unhinged, so she just is spiraling. Let's just say that. And the story just takes off from there, and it is so good. It is so dark. It is so twisted. You have the friends, and they all have their own dynamic and their own drama that is happening within this friend group back then and now. And it is just so good. The college campus vibes are real. It is almost like the college is like a main character itself. I love it. So highly, highly, highly recommend checking this out if you are looking for some good dark academia this fall. And then my next recommendation has one of the best twists that I have read in a really long time, and that is They Never Learn by Jane Fargo. This book is a trip, but also so good and like total femme vibes. So like if you're wanting some feminism as well as a dark academia, this book is for you. In this book, we are following Scarlett, and she is an English professor at her university, and she is seeking vengeance, let's say, on males who do wrong, and she takes it into her own hands. And I'm not going to give you more than that, because I just find with thrillers, with dark academia, that kind of thing, like the less you know the better, but especially with this book, the less you know the better. So that's all I'm gonna say. You have Scarlett, she seeks some vengeance, she takes it upon herself, and it just unfolds from there, and it's so good. And the reveals in this book are so good, and it's just a roller coaster from beginning to end, and you're not sure whether or not you should be cheering for her or rooting against her. So I highly recommend checking this one out this fall season. Those are all my fall recommendations for you. I hope you enjoyed this video. I would love to know in the comments what you plan on reading this fall and what book like screams fall vibes for you. Let me know in the comments. That way we can all give each other some more recommendations, because there is never enough. The TBR is never ending. Be sure to give this video a thumbs up if you did enjoy. Subscribe if you are not already. Turn on the bell so you never miss a video, and I will see you in my next one. Bye!
With you and I, the future